Hey, and welcome into the Big Ten Huddle. I'm your host, JR, and if you love Big Ten basketball and football, you need to subscribe to this channel and check out our other channel that is all about football. We have a channel for each and a podcast feed that combines the two together. If you're listening on podcast, please do give us a 5-star rating and subscribe. If you're on YouTube, like, comment, subscribe, do all those things. I really appreciate it. It helps me to deliver better content for all of you, and at the end of the day, that's what you want, better content. All right, let's dive deep into an absolute blowout from Wednesday night. Penn State snapping a 7-game losing streak by routing the Nebraska Cornhuskers 89-72 at the Bryce Jordan Center. This game had everything: hot shooting, big runs, some serious soul searching for one team. Let's break it down. So Penn State came into this one desperate for a win. They were 13 overall, just 3-12 in the Big Ten, sitting at the bottom of the standings and riding that ugly 7-game skid. Nebraska, on the other hand, was 17-9, 7-8 in conference play, feeling good after winning 5 of their last 6 and fighting for an NCAA tournament spot. On paper, this looked like a mismatch in Nebraska's favor, but basketball isn't played on paper, folks. It's played on the hardwood, and Penn State flat out dominated this game from the tip. Let's start with key moments, right? Because this game was over early. Penn State jumped out to a 14-2 lead in the first 6 minutes, and Nebraska never recovered. Cody Niederhauser, Penn State's 7-foot big man, was a monster early, scoring 3 straight baskets during the opening 12-0 run after Nebraska tied it up 2-2. Zach Hicks capped it with a putback, and the Nittany Lions were off and running. By the under 12-minute timeout, it was 19-8, and Nebraska had already turned it over 7 times in the first 8 minutes, pretty much. Penn State's full court pressure was relentless, and it set the tone while Nebraska was careless and knew they were in trouble early. By halftime, it was 50-27, a 23-point deficit for the Huskers. Cody Niederhauser had 15 points on a perfect 5 for 5 from the field, and Penn State shot a blistering 66.7% in the first half, including 11 of 12 from the free throw line. They owned the paint 30-8 and turned 11 Nebraska turnovers into 10 points. This wasn't just a hot start for Penn State. It was also more of the same for Nebraska, as their slow starts have caught up with them once again. Penn State hadn't scored 80 points since beating Rutgers about a month ago, and they were dropping 50.5 against a team that's been solid for most of the year, other than one bad stretch that they had. The second half saw Nebraska try to claw back. They opened with a 13-6 run, cutting the lead to a 16-point deficit of 56-40 with 16 minutes and 28 seconds left, thanks to some strong play from Andrew Morgan and Connor Osiegian. You thought perhaps they could come back. Perhaps they got some momentum and they could do it just like they did in the previous game against Northwestern. But Penn State had an answer every time. DeMarco Dunn sparked a 14-4 run with 8 points, pushing the lead to 70-44, the largest of the game. Zach Hicks buried 2 late 3-pointers to keep Nebraska at bay, and the Nittany Lions cruised to an 89-72 final. The lead never dropped below 16 in the second half, and it was wire-to-wire dominance. Let's talk players, starting with Penn State, because they had a bunch of guys who stepped up in this game. Cody Niederhauser, chief among them. Zach Hicks, he was up there as well. They both finished with 19 points, tying their game highs. Niederhauser was a force inside, going 7 for 10. And 5 of 6 from the line, adding 4 rebounds and 2 blocks. The big men set the tone early and gave Nebraska absolute fits in the paint all night. Hicks, meanwhile, was the lights out from deep, hitting 5 of 9 from 3 and grabbing 6 rebounds. His putbacks in the opening run, and those late triples were daggers. DeMarco Dunn was huge offensively, dropping 17 points on 7 of 9 shooting, including 3 of 5 from 3. He's been a spark in the fourth straight start, and his 8 points in the second half run showed his knack for big moments. Ace Baldwin Jr., he's the glue. 10 points, 8 assists, 6 steals, and his 80th career assist was a big accomplishment. He was everywhere defensively, and his playmaking kept the offense humming. Freddie DeLone, or Dillion, I forget how you pronounce that. I apologize. I listened to this game on mute most of the time. Added 12 points off the bench, and Nick Kern Jr. chipped in 10, including a couple of highlight dunks. 6 Penn State Nittany Lions in double figures, 60.7% shooting as a team, 13 of 14 from the line. This was just a clinic. What I loved about Penn State's performance was how they shared the ball and attacked. They had Nebraska looking lost out there at times, and their unselfish play was impressive. And it's easy to be unselfish when your guys are finishing the play. Penn State attacked and finished at the rim better than I have seen them all season long. Penn State only averaged 39 points in the paint per game, so their 52-36 edge in the paint and 78.8% shooting on 2-pointers was nearly unstoppable. Defensively, they forced 16 turnovers and turned them into 16 points. This was the best version of Penn State we've seen all season, even better than the Purdue game. I'm convinced of it. On the flip side, Nebraska had some bright spots, but way too many lows. Connor Essegian led the team with 20 points off the bench, including a flurry of jumpers and 3-pointers in the second half. He was 8 of 12 and kept them afloat when it could have gotten uglier. Andrew Morgan was perfect, going 8 for 8 for 18 points, but foul trouble limited him to just a few minutes in the first half, killing their interior presence early. Bryce Williams added 17 points, 5 assists, snapping his 6-game streak of 20-plus points, but he picked up 3 fouls in the first half and couldn't get going until it was too late. When Nebraska fell apart were the turnovers in defense. 16 turnovers, 11 in the first half, gave Penn State easy points and killed any rhythm that Nebraska had. Sam Hoiberg, I've been a fan of Sam Hoiberg, but he had one of his worst games I've ever seen him play, as he had 4 turnovers alone, chucking the ball all around the court, taking shots he had no business taking. It was clear that Hoiberg was pressing in this game, which only made things worse. To be frank, Nebraska was careless and effortless tonight, which is incredibly disappointing for this team, as they are fighting for an NCAA tournament berth, and a close loss to Penn State would hurt on its own, but a complete and utter ass whooping against the worst team record-wise in the Big Ten is going to be hard to recover from. They shot 51.9% from the field, which isn't bad, but their 65.6% in the second half was a little too late. They got punked in the paint, out-rebounded 27-22, and with 7 offensive rebounds, allowed for 11 second-chance points. Point blank, they were soft inside. They were soft. They were Play-Doh. They were the Pillsbury Doughboy, whatever you want to call it. They were soft. They lost their identity, and it looks like they lost their fight. Penn State's lineup was spot on, starting Baldwin, Dunn, Dillion, Conan Niederhauser, and Hicks gave them a balanced attack, and Rhodes went 10 deep early, keeping their legs fresh. Subbing in Kern early paid off. He was a spark off the bench, and others off the bench got minutes to keep the pressure on and the legs fresh. Rhodes' full court press disrupted Nebraska from the jump and set the tone and gave everyone juice. Smart move against a team that struggled with road tests. Nebraska's lineup, though, was a mess early, starting Williams, Juwan Gary, Morgan, Rollie Worster, and Sam Hoiberg didn't work. Morgan picked up 2 fouls in the first 93 seconds forcing Braxton Mia in, and the turnovers piled up. Fred Hoiberg shuffled subs, bringing in Essegian and Aaron Ulis, but the damage was already done. They simply had no answer for Penn State's size, although Morgan's foul trouble hurt them early. They needed someone to step in against Cody Niederhauser. It just looked like Penn State played a Mike Rhodes brand of basketball. They established their defense early, and you could tell Nebraska didn't want to be there after Penn State started dominating. Not only did Penn State kill Nebraska's chances, but they killed their spirit in this game as well. This Penn State team hasn't been competitive during most of the skid, losing 4 of their last 5 by 8 points or more. This win proves they've still got fight in them, though. This is the kind of win that brings confidence and energy to the team. We won't know, but this kind of energy needs to show up in their next practice. It's not the end of the road. It's a building block. In his post game, Fred Hoiberg was pretty blunt and very frustrated. He said everybody's got to look in the mirror, and it starts with me, and he's not wrong. For fans and coaches, it was disappointing with NCAA tournament chances on the line, especially considering Nebraska's lack of attention to detail and how they looked with one another. Fred Hoiberg said that he thought their shoot-around was the best of the season, which absolutely floored me when he said that. But he said it, quote, didn't translate. They dug a 20-point hole Sunday. They dug a 20-point hole Sunday at Northwestern and climbed out, but couldn't do it twice in the same week. It sounds like a lot. It may sound like a lot, but this team needs more fight and consistency. For Nebraska, this loss stings. They're now 17-10, 7-9 in the Big Ten, and this is a bad quad 2 loss that hit their resume. Losing to the last place team in the league, who has 3 conference wins, now 4, you're one of those 4, and was on the 7-game skid, is brutal for their NCAA tournament case. They've got chances to rebound, hosting number 12 Michigan on Monday, which is a huge quad 1 opportunity, and an opportunity against most likely the number 1 team in the conference. Should be the number 1 team in the conference if I remember the standings correctly. Nebraska needs to get healthy, come out next time with better energy. If they split their last 4 games and win a Big Ten tournament game, I think they're still in the bubble conversation. But this game could haunt them. For Penn State, this 89-72 rout is a lifeline. At 14-13, 4-12 in the Big Ten, there's still a long shot for the Big Ten tournament, but this keeps hope alive. They head to Minnesota Saturday, where they'll face a 14-12 Gophers team coming off a West Coast sweep. A win there could spark a late run. Rhodes has them believing their 89 points was a Big Ten season high, and that 60.7% shooting shows that what they are capable of. If they can bottle this energy and physicality, they've got a shot to climb in the standings and make some noise in the Big Ten tournament. That's going to do it for this episode of the Big Ten Huddle. As always, like, comment, subscribe, give us a 5-star rating on podcasts, follow us on social media. It's just at the Big Ten Huddle. Simple, easy, short, to the point. Thanks so much for watching. Thanks so much for listening. Have a great day.